You're listening to the Voicing Your Brand podcast, episode number 4. Welcome to Voicing Your Brand. I'm your host, Tami Romani, and as a voiceover talent for more than 30 years, I've been a voice for many brands. But in today's digital marketing world, you've got to have your own voice for business. So now my mission is to help you learn how to use your voice for success by unlocking your authentic voice to tell your story and be heard. Are you ready? Welcome to the studio. Hey, happy Tuesday, and thanks for joining me today. Yep, I have decided that I'll be releasing this podcast on Tuesdays. You know, Tami Tuesdays, it just works. Tam Talk Tuesdays, we can play around with that and figure something out. But Tuesday is one of my favorite days, and I can't quite put my finger on why. Do you have a favorite day of the week? I just love Tuesdays, and I have for a long time. There's just something about getting over the hump of Monday, which I love Mondays too because I love a fresh start of a week. But you've gotten through Monday and it's not quite hump day where you're on the downslope to Friday. Tuesday seems to be my most productive day and the day that I want to schedule my world because I just like Tuesdays. So there you have it. It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. And I wanted to talk to you before we dive into some of the interviews that I've got lined up of guest experts and so on. I wanted to talk to you about something that I've learned from launching this podcast. And I think it might strike a chord with you because I've got a confession to make. I had the idea for this podcast over a year ago. And as I launched it and was looking for the graphic that I had made, you know, the little thumbnail that you see that says Voicing Your Brand with Tami Romani, it's black with white lettering, got my picture on there. I made it myself on Canva, and I looked at the date of when I first uploaded that, and it was October of 2017. 13 months before I actually launched this podcast. Now, I want to dive into some of the reasons that I was dragging my feet on this. This is something that I've known I was supposed to do. I have known it was my calling to help entrepreneurs become comfortable in their voice, and yet I let something hold me back. And it wasn't until this morning when I really had an aha moment, and I want to share that with you now because I have pretty much realized that there were about 3 reasons that I allowed into my life to hold me back from doing the thing that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt I was called to do. I've been talking about it for over 13 months. I mean, I made the graphic 13 months ago, but probably 2 or 3 months before that, I was telling my friends about it. Some said, meh, yeah. Some said no. Others said, yes, you've got to do it. I still dragged my feet for an entire year. Are you there too? Have you done that? Can you relate to that at all? Man, it's really kind of disheartening to know that about yourself, but I've been through quite a growing process in the last year, which is so important if you are in business for yourself. I just want to say, if you are not in the business of self-development, jump on that bandwagon now, or you will definitely limit yourself. So the first thing that I identified as I was thinking about this today, for the reason that I held myself back, is that the world of voiceover, the craft of voiceover, is a very anonymous job. When you hear my voice, there's no name attached to it. You might hear me on a commercial, you might hear me on an explainer video or medical narration or some kind of e-learning program. You don't ever know that it's me. Unless perhaps I narrate an audiobook, which if you go on audible.com and search my name, you'll find one there. Then my name is attached to it. But for the most part, voiceover work is a very anonymous profession. And those of us who sit alone in a padded room talking to ourselves all day long tend to like it that way. And I did not realize that that was something that was holding me back. First of all, because I'm in the recording industry, I didn't think it would be good enough. I didn't think this podcast would be good enough. I didn't think I had enough to offer, and my production skills are not great because I'm the person who just records the voice and sends it off to the production guy. So, man, you get an idea in your head and you let it roll around and roll around. That held me back for a year. The second thing that I recognized that has really put a damper on me launching this podcast is good old-fashioned imposter syndrome. Now, again, if you're not in the self-development world of learning about yourself and bettering yourself, you maybe have never heard this word or term, phrase, imposter syndrome. It basically just means that you don't believe in yourself. You believe that you are an imposter, that no one is going to like what you say, that you are not the expert that you are putting yourself out to be. Now, what I've noticed over the past year is that pretty much everyone who is in the public eye suffers from imposter syndrome at some time or another. I have some very successful friends who fight this idea in their mind that they really shouldn't be doing what they're doing because they're not the top expert in their field. But who's to say they're not? So I was telling myself that there are other coaches out there who do this better than I do. Maybe people really don't need this. Maybe the voice isn't their big roadblock to starting that thing they need to do. But you know what got me out of that thinking? Community. I am in 2 or 3 online communities where we hold each other accountable, we cheer for each other, and we just believe in each other's vision. And I have been called on the carpet several times for that attitude. And you know who you are, but I thank you for that because I need a kick in the rear sometimes to get out of my own head and to push that imposter syndrome away. Now, I understand from talking to some successful people that it may never go away. It's something that I will have to fight always. So what I want to speak to you is push it aside, do it scared. And I'll tell you, waiting 13 months has not made launching a podcast any less scary. You think you're going to know more about it. You think you're going to have a good handle on what it's like and how to do everything and all the systems involved and all that. Pushing that publish button, whether you're writing a blog post, whether you are pushing the go live button on Facebook or Instagram, or you're talking to Periscope audience or Snapchat, whatever that is, it does not make it easier if you wait and put time in between the time you've decided you need to do it and the time you actually do it. With action comes clarity and confidence. I will say that I suffer from all these things, but the people who come to me with their vocal problems and wanting to just have a better presence with their voice, they almost always say, I need confidence. Well, confidence comes from joining community and having people speak into your life and then doing it scared. Confidence comes from doing it scared. So that's my other thing to say to you. Now, the third thing that I identified that was holding me back is perfectionism. I am in the recording industry. I did not think that this podcast was going to be a good enough piece of production. I didn't think that I knew how to mix the music and do my intro. I didn't think that I would do anything right in terms of producing it and all of the moving parts that need to happen. I actually, in my mind, thought that I would start with episode 1 and it would be as good as everyone else's 100th episode. That's what I was requiring of myself. And the deeper I got into research to how this is all put together, You know what I did? I went back to some of my favorite podcasters that have millions of downloads, and I listened to their very first episode. Some of them were so bad, I couldn't even listen to them. Truly, I'm not even kidding. And what I learned from going back and listening to those is that everyone starts from zero. Everyone starts from zero. You cannot start at the highest level that you think you will end up at. It's not possible. No one has done that. If you look at the history of some of my online mentors and where they began, you can just trace. First, I started teaching people this. Then I started teaching people a little bit more because I learned a little bit more. Then I started teaching people even more because I figured out even more. And that's what we are called to do. Be authentic and walk through your experience with your tribe. And they will follow you and know that you are authentic and that you have discovered the answers. And I'll tell you what, I have even bought Pat Flynn's podcasting course, Power Up Podcasting, because even though I understand the recording world, I knew nothing about launch strategy. I knew nothing about the technology behind hosting and what you're supposed to fill in what blank when you fill out all of the boxes that need to be checked and so on. And honestly, I wanted to shrink my learning curve. I'm a great researcher, but it all takes time. So I bought a course. And if I offer a course to you that will help shrink down the time to get your voice in shape, I hope you'll take me up on that one day. And that brings me to the fourth thing that might be holding you back. It's the thing that most people come to me for, and that is your voice. Now, obviously, I'm very comfortable in front of a microphone, not so much in front of a camera. That is something that I still am working on, but a microphone, very easy for me. What's not so easy for me is what I'm doing right now, where I'm just talking with a very light outline. I've been trained to read a script word for word like it's just a conversation, and I'm really good at that. But talking off the top of my head or sharing from my heart, that is a piece of vulnerability that I'm still working on. But my voice, I'm trained, I'm very comfortable in my voice. But what I hear from so many of my tribe and my listeners is that you don't like your voice, or you hate your voice, or you think you don't sound authoritative enough for the message that you need to get out to the world, or for the expertise that you carry within you. So in episodes ahead, we will be talking about different ways to boost your voice, to boost your vocal presence. We will be talking to some experts who will talk to you about branding, about business basics. We're just going to cover all the bases here with business about being the voice of your brand, because voicing your brand is your voice, but it's also your appearance. It's also how you write your blog posts. Maybe we'll have an expert here soon about social media. All of it combines to become the voice of your brand, and that's what you put out to the world. Okay? So, wow, I really appreciate you joining me today. I don't think I want to add to this right now. I think we're going to dive a little bit deeper in other episodes, but I will recommend a book to you. I know you've probably heard of Brené Brown. I will put a link to this book in the show notes, but it's The Gifts of Imperfection. Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. Basically, Brené Brown tells story after story of her own experience of walking through this learning to embrace imperfection and do it scared. And that's what I'm going to tell you today. Embrace imperfection and do it scared. I will be doing that too, and I'm so glad that you are joining me on this journey. I'll talk to you next time. The Voicing Your Brand podcast has been brought to you today by the 7-Day Vocal Makeover. You know your voice needs help, but you don't know where to begin. In the 7-Day Vocal Makeover, I will walk you step by step through what you need to know to make the subtle changes necessary to be heard. This special edition of my program will be launching soon with a group coaching option where you'll have a safe place to practice and get input on the delivery of your important message. The waiting list is open now. Just go to TamiRomani.com/makeover to get on that list.